Sis, let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your to do list, whether it's work deadlines, grocery runs, caregiver duties, responsibilities to the community, group chats that you still haven't responded to, and thought, if one more thing gets added to this list, I might break? But then you just keep pushing because that's what you've always done. And if this hits a little too close to home and sounds a little too familiar, this episode is for you. And it's called Done Living in Survival Mode because it comes to a point where your body, your mind, and your spirit say, girl, enough. And sadly, that's what many of us call our normal day to day. What many of us call a normal day to day is actually a dysregulated nervous system that's stuck in survival mode. Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Be Well Sis podcast. I am your host, Dr. Cassandre Dunbar. How has life been treating you? But more importantly, how have you been treating yourself? Today, I want to help you understand what it means to be in survival mode, how to recognize it in your own body, and what steps you can take to begin feeling safe again, not just physically, but emotionally too. So, this is a solo episode. Go ahead and grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or something a little bit stronger. I won't judge. And let's get into it. And stick around to the end of the episode because I'll be sharing something that's been working my nerves in the Not Well Sis segment. Yeah. We got to talk. But first, let's talk a little bit more about what it means to be in a survival mode. I didn't realize that I was in survival mode because to me, it felt normal. Like this was just how life was supposed to be. I was doing what I thought a grown ass woman who had it together was supposed to do. I wasn't curled up in bed, unable to move. I wasn't falling apart. I was high functioning, productive, and from the outside, it probably looked like I was killing it. I mean, I kind of was, right? But I was also always tense and always on. And the idea of slowing down, that felt so indulgent. It felt so selfish. And then I started unpacking what I thought were normal feelings about being an adult and being a woman and being somebody with responsibilities were like in therapy. And I remember one session where I was just sitting there and explaining my routine, how I was juggling this, that, the other thing, never really resting, brushing off my own needs, and powering through. And my therapist looked at me and gently said, Cassandra, you are not thriving. You're in survival mode. And I froze. Because what that mean? I mean, what you mean I'm in survival mode? That phrase, for whatever reason, hit me in the chest. Survival mode? What? Not me. I mean, I felt like it didn't apply to me. Like for me, survival mode felt like maybe like a crisis state. Like it felt like something people went through immediately after a major trauma or a loss or just something that was like life shattering and life altering. And that wasn't me at that time. But the more we peeled back, the more I realized that, well, dang, I kind of was in a crisis. And it was a quiet one that had been normalized, one that gets mistaken for being strong or capable or ambitious, even. But beneath it was depletion, it was disconnection, and a body that hadn't felt safe enough to actually exhale in years. And that was my wake up call. And something about naming it helped me to realize that my normal was actually a stress response. And it's hard to keep pretending that you're okay once you know that. So, what do I mean when I say survival mode? Biologically, we're talking about the sympathetic nervous system that is part of our autonomic nervous system, which kicks in whenever your body perceives a threat. This is the system that is responsible for the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. So, for example, let's just say your brain senses danger, whether it is a physical danger, as in you are being physically threatened or harmed or assaulted, or a perceived one, such as a very strongly worded email or a text message from a boss or a client. Your brain will respond by signaling the release of cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate will speed up, your breathing will become shallow, digestion will slow, and your muscles will tense. Your body at this point is preparing to survive. But here's the thing, your brain does not always know the difference between an immediate danger, as in the house is on fire, or if it is something that is prolonged, as in chronic stress. So you might be in survival mode if you're experiencing ongoing fatigue even after sleeping, brain fog or memory lapses, tightness in your chest or your jaw, irritability or emotional numbness or flatness, digestive issues, feeling like you can't slow down even when you try. You might also feel emotionally disconnected from joy, hyper independent, and unable to ask for help. And like your worth is tied to your productivity and how, quote, valuable you are. Does that sound familiar? Honestly, in some ways, in many ways, if I'm being honest, it did for me too. And this is true for so many women who have been conditioned to just handle it because that's what we do, right? So, prolonged activation of your stress response can take a toll. Cortisol is fine in the short term, but when it's elevated for long periods of time, it can lead to hormonal imbalances, especially affecting estrogen, progesterone, and insulin. It can lead to inflammation, immune system dysfunction, disrupted sleep cycles, and mood disorders such as depression and anxiety. And for Black women in particular, these effects are compounded by the weight of systemic stress. So, racism, medical bias, and cultural expectations to be strong at all costs. And it's not just about the stress, it's about the survival patterns that have been normalized but are actually depleting our health, our joy, and our ability to simply be present. However, there is good news, friend. Our bodies are so resilient. Our nervous systems were built to calm down. We just have largely forgotten how. And to shift out of survival mode, we have to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. This is what we typically refer to as our rest and digest mode. This is where healing, creativity, connection, and peace thrive. So, here are some ways to begin. We're going to start with number one, which is breath work. We had a beautiful conversation with Jasmine Marie, who is the founder of the organization called Black Girls Breathing. And she's also the author of the book of the same name. And it's a great exploration of how slow, deep belly breaths can signal to your brain that we are actually safe. So, breath work is so important. I was reading about how the majority of us adults really don't know how to breathe and we don't breathe properly. And that sounds so counterintuitive because we breathe to live. We breathe to live or we live to breathe. We breathe to live, right? Like we need to breathe. But many of us are taking these shallow breaths and are essentially holding our breaths that the mechanism that we've lost the mechanics of how to breathe. So that is going to further stimulate the sympathetic nervous system. So simply breathing and engaging in breathwork activities is going to be a great start at leaving survival mode and stepping into um, our safety. The next one is going to be rhythmic movement. So, walking, swaying, stretching, dancing are all ways for us to regulate our bodies. Naming emotions, giving language to your feeling really helps to reduce their grip. One of the most powerful things that I learned in therapy, in my many years of therapy, is learning the different ranges of emotion that we all experience, but especially that I experience, naming them and being able to access and describe them. For so many years, I thought, well, I'm mad or I'm sad or I'm happy or I'm scared. And I was just thriving off those four things. Not thriving, actually, but I was just vibing off of those four things. If you ask me how I was feeling that day, I pick one of those four and keep it moving. But working in therapy and learning about the emotion wheel and getting my own emotion wheel really helped me to understand the range of emotion that we experience as humans, to name them. And just in naming them, there was just so much power and healing in that in of itself. The other thing is going to be saying no. Whenever we talk about boundaries, the boundaries are not for other people, friends. The boundaries are for ourselves. Every boundary that we hold is going to give our nervous system much more room to breathe. Whenever we say no to somebody else or to another task or responsibility, it's saying yes to ourselves and to giving ourselves more space, permission even to rest or to engage in activity that feels better for us. There are but so many hours in a day. We cannot use every waking hour to be of service to someone else. And I'm even speaking to those who are parents of small children. One of the things that I realized that I've been doing, which was actually unintentional, has been driving with no podcast on. If you're driving with this podcast on, keep it on though. Thank you for joining. Um, no audiobooks, no music, not being on a phone call, and just being silent as I go from point A to point B. And it has been so therapeutic in a way because there's just constant noise and constant things and people and opinions and all of the things competing for our attention, and being able to just literally shut it off for a moment has been so powerful. And I've already talked to you guys before about meditation, how I found that to bring so much clarity when I am consistent, and that's something that is still a part of my practice, not as consistent as I want to be, but it does provide me with so much clarity and helps to make my thoughts and my the answers to the questions that I have much more apparent to me. And lastly, pleasure and the play is so important. It absolutely counts and is something that we as adults do not take seriously enough. Your joy is not frivolous, it is actually medicine. Children are such powerful teachers. If we observe a child, we can learn so much about how we should be living our lives. One of the things that I always reference about how my kids are always asking themselves, like, where's the fun? How can I make this fun? And it actually used to really annoy me. Like, some things aren't meant to be fun, but no, they have the right idea. While not every single thing is going to be fun, we should absolutely be building in fun and joy and pleasure into our lives. You and I both know that it's not going to happen, right? The way our society is set up, the joy is not going to come to our front door. We have to intentionally go out, but really go within to seek it and to cultivate it. And again, it's so important. I was actually thinking to myself the other day, I'm not even sure what made me think about this, but I was thinking, like, what if I died today? How would I feel? Like if I died, I just dropped dead, or I just didn't wake up, right? And I'm in the afterlife. How would I feel about that? And I thought to myself, like, you know what? I'd be pissed. Okay. I'd be pissed simply because I did not spend enough of my years on this planet cultivating joy and creating joyful moments for myself. And I'm working through that. It's so important not only to do what you have to do, because we all have responsibilities, and yeah, that's what it is. But in those responsibilities, we also have responsibility to ourselves to make this life much better. And it's not going to be better in the things that we buy. So the new house is not going to bring me joy. Maybe temporarily, I might have a little fleeting moment of happiness, sure. um, the new car isn't, a new promotion or a new role is not going to be what brings me happiness. The things that are going to bring me happiness and true joy um, are things that might actually take a little bit of work. So it takes work in finding out who I am and what I really like and learning myself and unlearning toxic and unhealthy things and all of those things. But joy is really important. And again, so is play. So my challenge to you, because I always like to give a challenge, I'm challenging myself too, is to this weekend find one way to play. That could be blowing bubbles. That could be riding a bike. That could be literally playing a game of, I don't know, they have like kickball leagues, like they have all type of stuff for adults. It could be roller skating, whatever it is that you, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, you loved to do that. Spend several hours doing that thing because you deserve to play. Like, what is the point of working, and having all these responsibilities and tasks? And that is how we arrive to the end at the end of our lives. Just saying that we checked off all the things on our to-do list and we weren't on them. If you're thinking, yeah, you know what? I know I have been living in survival mode. Okay, but how do I actually undo that outside of this list that you just said? You're not alone. And that's exactly why I created something very special for this community. It's called Replenished. It's a guided, audio based wellness experience that supports you in slowly, gently, and intentionally reconnecting with your body and regulating your nervous system. This isn't a crash course, it's a reset and a soft return to self. You'll receive weekly audio lessons, reflection prompts, and rituals designed to shift you from chronic stress to intentional rest and from survival to safety. Enrollment isn't open just yet, but if it resonates with you, I invite you to join the waitlist. Head over to the link down below in the show notes and add your name. You'll be the first to know once it opens, and I'll be sending something special your way if you're on that list. But there is absolutely no pressure. But if you're craving a roadmap to replenishment, I got you. You were never meant to white knuckle it through life. You were built for joy. You were built for ease. You were built for breath. So it's okay. I'm giving you permission to lay down the cap, and it's okay to shoot. And it's okay to choose softness. It's okay to rest, not because you've earned it, but because you deserve it and because you simply exist. So now let's hop into Not Well, Sis. And this is the segment where we let it all out because what? Venting is self care too. So whether it is a dating disaster, a wellness trend that has gone wrong, or you just not feeling, or life is just life and doing the absolute most, this is your moment to call it out and reclaim your peace. So send in your letters. The link is down below in the show notes, and I will read them on the air. Or you can also even send a cute little voice note as well that can be played on the air. Of course, it's 100% anonymous unless you want to share who you are, and that's fine too. Um, and yeah, this is a completely safe space and we can talk it out. I can give you my 2 cents if you want the 2 cents, or you can just get it off your chest. So this week, I do not have a listener letter, but I do have something that I have been sitting with, and y'all gonna have to hear it. And it's this: I am not a quote boy mom. I'm a mother of boys, and that distinction matters. There's this whole culture around the quote boy mom label that often centers coddling sons in ways that can be harmful and toxic. It's the kind of parenting that excuses bad behavior under the guise of quote boys will be boys, while our daughters are expected to be um, mature, nurturing, helpful, and basically little caregivers from jump. It's giving imbalance, it's giving toxic, it's giving harmful, it's giving very high future therapy bills. And recently I came across this TikTok where a woman shared that she was pregnant with a girl, and the kind of comments that she was getting from people in real life, from both men and women, were absolutely wild. Things like, oh, girl, good luck, or oh, girls are so much harder, said with this weird shade that made it clear that we devalue girls even before they take their first breath. And it's got me thinking about how intentional we have to be in raising emotionally healthy sons and in confronting how society still views daughters as burdens instead of blessings. I want to hear from you. Have you noticed this bias when it comes to how we talk about boys versus girls? Have you experienced it yourself as a mom, as a daughter, or someone who is just paying attention and peeping game? So I would love to hear your thoughts. Go ahead and drop your thoughts, your views, your hot takes for the Not Well Sis segment. Again, the link is down below in the show notes and the show description, and let's talk about it. So that is all for today's episode. As always, thank you so much for joining. I am so glad you're here. Until next time, be well, sis. Thank you for listening to this episode of Be Well, Sis. If you'd like to get in touch with us, there's a link in the show notes. Be Well, Sis is hosted by me, Dr. Cassandre Dunbar, and produced by Edit Audio. Don't forget to hit follow so you never miss an episode. Until next time, be well, sis.